Hello and welcome to a new video, and today we are introducing our PDF reports. So let's go. So as usual, I'm already in my workspace, in this case my cold chain monitoring workspace, because I want to show you a really cool feature. You can go ahead and click on reports, and if you have been for a long time on Datacake, you will know that our reports haven't been touched in a while. We've always added new functionalities, but the reports really needed an enhancement, and we were building on these for some time and bouncing out ideas. And we wanted to offer you the possibility to create a PDF report. And now you will see that the reports have three tabs on top of here. You have the report builder, you have the all simple CSV reports, and you have energy reports. The simple CSV will only appear if you have had CSV reports before. If you want to create new ones, please go ahead and use our exports feature. That is the replacement basically for our simple CSV file. And the exports will allow you to create a raw export of your data. And for now, when you click on add report, you will only see the report builder and the energy reports. That's what I meant with simple CSV reports are not available here anymore, only to see them, but not really to create them anymore. And in here, when you click on add report, you will see a report builder, and it has also some icons that show you the file type that you will be able to create at the end. I will click on next. And as you can read up here right now, this is a beta feature. You can enjoy unlimited access now and use it. And later on, we might add plan-based limits. However, the features, the widgets, and everything within it will still be available for you. And as you can see, you have to give a report name that is necessary for the report to work. So I'm going to add a cold chain report. I will say it's a weekly report. And you can select a template, which is another really cool thing that we have available here. You will only see for now cold chain monitoring and energy consumption, but we are working to add more options in here for you to save up time. Of course, if your use case is not available here, you can always start from scratch. You could even use one of the templates. You can play with it and see if the template might be good enough for your use case. Sometimes these templates can contain enough information for your own use case, even if it's not intended for that. So I'm selecting cold chain monitoring, and you can select the schedule. You can select daily, weekly, or monthly. In my case, I'm going to select weekly, as I mentioned in the name. And you can select the data source. In this case, we have 24 devices included in this workspace, and I want to include them all in this report. But if you are managing smaller groups of your devices, either with names, specific names. I know that some people mark their devices with a small number or a code inside of the name of the device to say, okay, these ones are in floor 1, these ones are in building B, etc. You can filter them by name. So adding just small words or numbers would filter all of the devices that contain that. And you also have a filter by tags, which is our preferred way of handling your devices or subgrouping your devices, because tags will also be available in other parts of the platform so that you can filter your devices. And finally, you have output formats, and that is what we saw before with these icons, PDF and web. You can have simply a PDF document to download, print, or share, but you also have the option, and you have the option to have both of them at the same time, to have an interactive web view of your PDF. And that will be a PDF report that will open on your browser. You can still save it, of course, and you can decide which one you prefer. You, of course, need to select at least one of them or both. So I'm gonna click on both and create report. And because I selected my template, this will already be populated already, which is amazing. If you select from scratch, this will be an empty canvas and you will be able to add things to it. So first off, I'm gonna clap back my menu. I don't know if you have seen this feature, but we have it available so you can have a little bit more space on your screen. And I'm gonna show you the elements that you will see in here. You have a menu to the left with a widget library. You can search for widgets. Once our library starts to grow, this is going to be very useful, that you can search for specific widgets. And for now, you have generic widgets and you also have utility widgets. We will explain later on what exactly they do and how you can use them. But you have a KPI, a time series chart, a time series table, and a fleet consumption under generic. And under utility, you have a device loop and you have a force page break. Now, in the middle of your report, you will see your report canvas, and this is what is going to be appearing on your PDF report. So if you click on elements of the canvas, on the right side, you will have the configurator. And this, as a default, will already have a logo, a title, a description, and the generated on, the report period, and the comparison period. Now, this is going to always appear in all of your created reports. It doesn't matter if from a template or from scratch. And in here, the logo is not configurable from here. It's going to be your workspace logo. So this one is going to be taken from the logo that appears up here on your workspace. And that one you can change either on the workspace area, or if you are a white label user, you have configured an overall logo, and that's the one that's going to appear here. Then you can always change the title of your report. You can say, okay, I want to add whatever to here. So you can always go ahead and modify that, edit it. I'm gonna just leave it like that. And then you also have a description. In this case, because I took the template, this description was pre-populated and it already describes a cold chain monitoring case. Now we go to generated on, report period, and comparison period, because those are quite important. The generated on is going to tell you when it's going to get generated. And basically, all of these things are also sort of configurable. And for that, we have a button up here called settings. And in the settings, you will see that you have several things that you can configure. The first one, data source. Again, you selected your devices when creating the PDF report, but it might be that you want to modify, that you made a mistake, or that you need to modify the devices that are included in here. Maybe you dynamically want to use tags to dynamically change the devices that are included in here. Here's where you can change that filtering or change the devices included. Then you have time, and in time, we again selected the frequency when we created the report, but you can always change that. You can say, instead of a weekly, I want a daily report, and you will see now the days of the week, and you can select which ones you want the PDF report to be sent and which ones you don't. For example, if you want only over the week to send automatically this PDF report and not over the weekend, then you deselect Saturday and Sunday. If you want a weekly report, you can select the time of the day, where the report gets generated. So in this case, 9 a.m. And in the time range, you can select which is going to be the window of time that your PDF report includes. Now, a report is a little bit different than a dashboard, because a dashboard will contain live data from your devices. So it's dynamically changing when the data is coming in. A PDF report, of course, is going to be static. So basically, we want the full window of time to be ended when we generate the report. If we want a weekly report and we create it today, we want the full week before us to be included in this report. So this is a time range. If you select a daily report, we recommend that you select here the previous day. In the weekly report, we recommend that you select previous week, and you can still select the last X amount of hours if you want, for example, only the last 12 hours, not the full 24 hours, or even the last X amount of days. So if you don't want the last 7 days, but you only need the last 2 days, you can still do that. In this case, I'm just going to select previous week. And in the resolution, you can select 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, or a day. In this case, because it's a weekly report, I don't want the resolution to be so small. So 1 hour is enough for my purposes. I can select as well my time zone, and then we go ahead to the output. And again, everything that you configured at the beginning, you can still modify later on. So if you say, I realized I don't really need the interactive web view, I only need the PDF document, fine, you can always go ahead and deselect it. And you also have an important configuration in here called local. And this one will allow you to select an option, and not only the language, but also the number and date formatting will be based on this selection. So you can go ahead and decide what exactly is that you want your PDF report to contain. In this case, for example, I am gonna select Mexican Spanish, and the local configuration is going to include that. Then under delivery, you can also decide to enable email delivery. If not, it will auto-generate and it will be saved inside of the platform. But maybe you want to receive an email with the PDF attached to it, or a reminder that you can download it. You can, as I said, attach the PDF. Then you can add here at least one recipient. I'm going to add myself to it. And you can password protect it as well. So this is very important. If your report contains information that's important, that out of privacy reasons, security reasons, internal security reasons, you might want to protect your PDF report, so you can do that. Finally, under advanced, you can select the data and how you handle data gaps. You always have devices that might skip reading, for example, or that are only sending data a couple times a day. And you always have data gaps. How you handle them, you can select here if you fill forward, if you interpolate, or if you leave those gaps empty. And in here, when you hover over the question marks, you will see what we have to say. In this case, Boolean fields fall back to fill forward always. Booleans we know are either 0 or 1. Then you also have the look around window, which is the maximum number of hours to look back before the start of a time window, or look ahead after the end of the time window when retrieving a prior or future data point. And in this case, we have 48 hours as a standard, and we will leave it like that. Then you have the start of the week. In some regions, start of the week is on Monday. In some regions, it's on Sunday. So you can also select which one you prefer. And the format A4 or a letter, and the orientation portrait or landscape. I'm going to leave A4 and portrait as those are our default values. And I want to re-mention, you don't have a save button in here. You have a preview changes. You have a save button outside of here. So you always want to save your changes in between just to make sure. And as I said, I use this cold chain pre-populated template, which is amazing because there's not much that I need to do anymore. You can go ahead and click on individual widgets on top of your canvas to change configurations. For example, in here, you can change the title of the chart. This is a time series chart, and you can add or remove time series data. In here, you have several options if you want value series, if you want change series or consumption series. You also have the name and display unit, and you can select the semantic that you want to display in here. In this case, temperature and humidity are important for us. So we selected temperature minimum, temperature maximum, humidity minimum, and humidity maximum values to display. Now, this one is a time series chart of our fleet overview. This one is taking the semantic temperature and the semantic humidity, and it is calculating for the whole fleet and not for an individual device, the minimum, maximum, and so on. So in here, you have also how to aggregate your whole fleet. In the scope, you can also select if you want to take your whole fleet or specific devices of your fleet. And as I mentioned, we have each of these series is maximum humidity, maximum temperature, minimum humidity, and minimum temperature. You can change the colors as well. And you can also add reference lines, for example, for a specific temperature or a humidity. In here, you have the axis. You have the temperature axis and you have the humidity axis. You can select the ranges of those. And you also have the timeline down on the x-axis. And then this one, we have a forced page break because we want in our report to have the chart, and then we will have the empty end of the page. And then we start in the next page with a device loop. And this device loop is a great tool because it allows you to configure it once, and this device loop will repeat for each of your devices in your fleet. So whatever you configure in here will repeat for each of your devices automatically without having to configure this for each device individually. So in here, we also have a time series chart, and I'm going to scroll down a little bit. You will see also a time series table in here. And if I scroll down, you will see that you have a long list in here. And this one is based on my resolution selected. You saw that I selected an hourly resolution for a weekly report. And so in here, you will see the time always, it's a full hour. You have minimum, average, and maximum values in here. Then you also have another time series for the humidity. This one is a time series for the temperature. And if I continue to scroll down, you will see here that you also have option to add widgets within this device loop. So you can add a KPI, you can have a chart series graph, a time series table, and you can also force page break. So this is for each single device in your fleet. And so I'm going to show you if I add my KPIs, for example. In here, you have option to add KPIs, and each of these squares is going to be a single KPI. So let's say, for example, in here, I have also options. I can take a time aggregation. I can take a snapshot. In this case, I'm gonna take a time aggregation. And I'm gonna add maximum temperature in degrees Celsius. Semantic is going to be temperature. I'm going to take the time aggregation maximum. And as you can see, you can compare to previous period. And you can select how you want to compare to previous period. If you want to show the relative change or the absolute change, and you can also show the previous value. And you can select also the colors. If you want to have the positive trend color being red, negative trend color being green, and the neutral trend color is if it didn't change anything. And if it didn't change anything, maybe it's positive. So I will color it green. The next one, for example, again, time aggregation, minimum temperature in degrees Celsius as well. I'm selecting the temperature again. And instead of the maximum, I'm selecting the minimum. I'm comparing to previous period again. Instead of relative, absolute change, and show previous value. And in here, the positive is red, the negative is green, and the neutral color is also green. And the same for humidity. So time aggregation, maximum humidity in percentage. Semantic, in here I'm going to select humidity. I'm going to select the maximum, and I'm going to compare to previous period, and I'm going to select absolute change, show previous value, and I'm just going to leave these configurations as they are. And finally, minimum humidity in percentage. I'm going to select humidity in here, minimum compared to previous period. Again, the same. And there you have it. So now your KPI widget was placed in here. You can always drag and drop it, or you can, with these arrows, when your PDF report gets very big, you can simply put it up. So you can have this one up your device loop. So you will always see your KPIs, then you will see your chart, and then you will see your temperature chart and table, and then your humidity chart and table. I'm going to go ahead and select 1 day resolution. Why? Because I want this to look a little bit more organized. And as you can see, my device loop changed a little bit. Now you have a daily resolution, and your table got smaller, of course, because now you have daily condensed minimum, maximum, and average temperature and humidity. And finally, I'm going to click on preview up here, because this will give you a preview for your whole report. So we can see up here, now we have daily measurements. So if you navigate, you will see that the changes were very, very, very slight, which is great, because you would see then peaks if your values would go out of range. If we scroll down, now we have the device loop. And you will see up here the name of your device, your serial number, and then the KPIs for each one of your devices. So this one is the the first fridge with its temperature and humidity. This one is the next fridge with its KPIs, its temperature and humidities. If I scroll down, this is another fridge. And as you can see, we have a very, very, very big report, because we have 24 devices included in here, and we have a device loop for each of our devices. So you have a very deep view of each of your devices. In this report, we have super important information. We have minimums, maximums, and average for a daily basis, on a week, for our fleet of devices. And so now that we saw our preview, I recommend you, of course, click on save, and you can go ahead and go out of your report. This has been saved now, and I want to show you how it looks like out here. And out here you have 2 tabs again, configurations and generator reports. And in here, of course, if you have a lot of reports configured, you will have a bigger list. In here, you have the type of report that will be generated. And in here, you can disable or enable the email delivery, which is really, really useful. You don't need to go ahead and go inside of it and then go into the configuration. You simply disable it or enable it from here. You will see one recipient, which is me, and then you have the PDF attached. And you also can disable or enable the scheduling if you want to skip a report, or if for now you don't really need these reports to be sent, you can simply disable it. And as you will see, when you disable it, you can manually generate a report from here. And this will open. Now, it of course depends on how long your devices are saving data. If you have a 1-year data retention, which is included in all of our packages, then you will have all of these reporting periods enabled, so to say, because all of them will contain information from your devices. If you only have 1 week, then, well, only the last one or the first one in here will be available for you. If you go ahead and try to generate something from the past where there's no data from your devices, then of course the PDF report will be empty. And in here, you can, if your time period is not in here, you can go ahead and give a specific day, month, and year. And of course, if you give something very much in the past where there's no data anymore, then the PDF report will be empty. And in here, you can select if you want to send it by email, or if it should just generate here, you can download it directly from the platform. I'm going to say send by email, and I'm going to click on generate report. And now you will see that my report is being generated. And now you see it's completed. You can download it from here. I want to open it so that you can see it. I selected a time window that was not having any information, of course, and that's why it's empty. And I want to show you how you would generate a report if you do have a scheduling enabled, because you can still do it. You have the scheduling enabled, you have 3 dots in here, and in here you also have the option to generate report. And again, this window will open for you, and you will have your reporting period in here, and you can decide to select send it by email and generate report again. And now, of course, I generated it. Where is it? I selected send per email, but maybe you didn't. You can go ahead to generated reports, and in here you will see a list of your reports, and you will see the artifacts that were generated. So you can always download them from here. You can make a search whenever this list starts to get very, very big. And you can manage public links in here. So you can actually share it via a public link. You can copy it and share it with someone, and they will also be able to see the report. And yeah, so this is basically it.